Hello everyone, welcome to my vlog. So today I will be showing you how do I edit headshots for guys. It's pretty much the same process whenever I edit females, but it's a little bit less work. Guys, they need to look a little bit more edgy, and like we really don't need to go really deep into the skin retouching, because that's gonna look, I would say, pretty bad. Guys typically they don't want to look over retouch. You have to have a little bit of roughness leave with the image. So again, it's going to be pretty much similar process. It's definitely less work with the guys. Well, also that depends on like what kind of skin conditions they have, and there's some few factors, but overall you're not gonna retouch them like females. So I'm gonna go through my entire process step by step, showing you what exactly I'm doing. So we're gonna be retouching this image, which you guys already see here. This shoot I've done a while ago. This guy, as you probably see, he already has pretty good skin, so like technically I have to say that this image already look pretty good. So if I would be like, I don't know, I wouldn't even have to retouch it, but there's few things which bugs me, so we're gonna kind of go step by step and we're gonna retouch it, so you guys gonna see the entire process. So as you probably already see, we are in camera raw, and I'm not gonna do too much here. We're gonna basically just get a little bit more just to slightly changes to the image. So usually I'm gonna do two changes. I'm gonna just open the shadows just a slightly bit, just to kind of get a little more pop. 10, that should be fine, and then we're gonna work with blacks, and then just a tiny bit. We're gonna just go minus, I would say 5. That should be good enough. As you probably see, that's just give a little more contrast. And usually also what I do, I give like a clarity, a maximum about 5, but in this case, because this image is already really good, let's do 3. So let's look into one more settings here, and I actually talk about it in my previous vlog. So we're gonna go to this bottom line over here, and we're gonna work in Adobe RGB space, 300 pixels, and we're gonna go to depth 16 bits per channel. So that's my settings, and this is just the kind of something which is the starting point. And we're gonna, so that's pretty much it. In camera raw, I don't do any other adjustments here. This is just to give a little bit of more pop to the image, and then this is pretty much it. And then we're gonna open this image in Photoshop. So we're gonna go to Photoshop right now and open that image here. So what's my first step? The first step, we're gonna fix some of those most obvious imperfections into the image. So for example, like hair, like here, there's a little bit of hair over here. There's a little bit of some, I don't know, some kind of zip or something like this. We're gonna remove this. There is some birthmarks and stuff. I'm gonna leave this because those kind of things usually I don't touch. If there are some which really bugs me and the client said, well, would you mind, and removed it, then I will do it, but most of the time I just kind of leave them the way they are. I had situations where I removed some of those stuff and the client was upset. Well, maybe not upset, but they said that they want to have those things on their face, especially also with the actor headshots. You really don't want to remove those, because if, let's say, they go to the audition and the whatever the person who will be looking at those images see that the skin is super clean, and the person has something on their face that might be an issue. I'm not sure, but I think, you know, the more authentic the image looks like, I think it's better. So with those kind of stuff, usually I use patch tool. There's a couple of reasons I like this tool. First of all, you know, leave the texture. You know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but most of the time I found that, you know, this is the best tool. So let's jump into it and start kind of you know, fixing our image. So for example, like, you know, stuff like this, a little bit of hair. So we're gonna just remove this. So as you can see, it doesn't leave any additional things which we don't want. Sometimes, you know, we have to be also kind of, I would say, careful with those stuff. You know, some tools work really well, sometimes they don't. So you know, like, don't kind of I have to say, like, you know, if I use this tool, just stick to it. You know, if it doesn't work, and depends on different backgrounds, you know, we have to kind of try different things and make sure that yeah, we use the proper tool. So let's remove this hair over here. It's something which I think can be easily removed. There you go. I'll remove also this hair. As you see, this tool works really well. I'm gonna remove this hair too, because it's kind of like in the way. And sometimes, you know, I think that we have to be also like careful what we removed, but at the same time, you know, like, we have to leave some of the stuff behind. And I know the more we retouch, then, you know, the more things we see, and it's really difficult to kind of like leave them behind. But we have to just kind of learn that, you know, like, we have to just let those things go to make sure that, you know, the images look authentic, because, you know, the more we clean, you know, it's something which, okay, this stuff, I think I'll remove this. I hope he's not gonna get upset. This little guy here too. Let's remove those stuff. So as you see, you know, I'm kind of going around the image and then you know, try to clean it up a little bit. Yeah, it's sometimes, you know, it's easy because people have nice and clean skin. Sometimes it's difficult because they have a lot of things which, you know, should be you know, fixed and stuff. So it just takes practice, and, you know, see what bugs you, and then you know, just start slowly, step by step, removing those things. Yeah, so that would be pretty much it. I don't think anything else. We can kind of do a little more on the hair, and for the hair, I found a spot healing brush is really helpful. As you probably see in a second, we have to like zoom in, and I found also that the smaller size of works better. I'll remove some of those hair which really kind of pops out here. Let's remove those. You know, technically I should leave those things, but for the sake of this vlog, I'm gonna clean it to basically show you. And, you know, I do the same thing for girls whenever they have those, like, you know, let's say gray hair or something which really it's like popping out. I think it's kind of cool to remove them. Gives that image much more polished look. And then, you know, we can do that at the beginning or at the end, just depends. I'm gonna do this right now because if I'm actually doing the basic stuff, then we can definitely get it done. So for example, stuff like this here, this hair over here is also kind of like really sticking out. So let's clean this up. So there you go. Clean up the beard here, like the gray stuff. Make this look kind of even. There you go. Okay, so that would be pretty much it for the first step. So let's kind of go back to the original. You know, as you see, there's not much, a little bit hair. Let's clean this up a little bit more here. This gray hair is just kind of drives me crazy a little bit. There you go. And with the hair, I found, you know, like some of those stuff you simply, whenever you start messing up, like, well, it's a different story when you're shooting some kind of beauty shot where the hair has to be perfect. But if you start messing it up a little bit with those kind of stuff, people not gonna even notice. So the things which really kind of drives you crazy, things which really kind of sticking out, and yeah, let's do a little bit here. Perfect. Okay, so that's the first step. As you see, there's not much done. It's just the basic stuff. And now we're gonna go to dodge and burn. So we're gonna go to my actions, and I use RGG. Well, actions. I link it, the stuff, you know, in the comments below to the proper tutorials, which I actually got them from. One of them is from Michael Voloshinovich. I mentioned him last time. I absolutely, first of all, love his work, and second of all, I love his actions. They really well designed, and yeah, I highly recommend it because I've been using them for over a year, and I haven't found anything which could be close to this. So again, I highly recommend it to use those. So yeah, let's jump into it. So we're gonna run the action, and then as you probably see, there are several you know, different things like the hair, the contour, and the fixer. And in this case, we're gonna start with fixer, as we're gonna work on his skin. So we're gonna create another layer with the black and white, so we can be able to see much better what's going on with his skin, and then, you know, where those you know, things has to be applied to make the skin looks better. And we can kind of like control it, you know, how much dark we want to have. And now, as you probably see, let's go even more. So with, well, technically, if you don't have this black and white layer, it's much more difficult to see which part of the skin has to be fixed. So for example, I'll show you like how this whole thing look like. So basically, you know, this area over here, you know, it's barely you can see that there's something going on, or there's some, you know, different tones or different colors. But if you turn into the black and white, you see right away over here, this area over here, you know, right below their eyes, there's a little bit over here going on. Sorry. And some of those stuff over here which needs to be adjust a little bit on her neck. So basically we're gonna see much clearer what has to be done. So typically I'm gonna be doing a dodging. And I found that, you know, most you know, those high-end retouchers, that's what they do. And we're gonna go to brush. We're gonna set it up to hardness about 2, and then flow to about 2 as well. I found that, you know, the flow and the hardness 2%, well, the flow 2% and the hardness 2% actually works best. I found if you start pushing more, you can actually, you know, overdo it. So one of the things with the retouching, and I want to kind of mention that as well, and I think I've said that before, you know, it's a very slow process. You know, you're doing things step by step. You do those adjustments very gradually. You don't kind of like run entire in action and hope for the best. It's basically something that you have to kind of get to the final results, you know, doing those very tiny steps and fixing those things, you know, like step by step. So there's no shortcuts, you know, there's no that you can kind of go through this fairly quickly. You know, like you have to basically fix those parts which need to be fixed, and then kind of you know, get to the final results with that, I would say, path, which you know, it's again, it's a very slow process. Okay, so let's start working on the image. I'll show you right away. So remember here, because it's a mask, we're going to work on white. Zoom to 100, and then we're going to start dodging those sections or those little fractions of the skin, which needs to be, as you can already see, there's some adjustments done. And we're gonna kind of go around the image, and we're gonna start fixing those areas. Another thing what I want to also kind of say that you don't want to kind of stay, let's say, in one area and start fixing everything. You kind of want to go all over the image, and I'll show you that, you know, it's gonna work a little bit better instead just focusing on one place and then kind of move to another. You want to kind of go all over the place and start fixing. And then we're gonna kind of start with like zoom to 100, because then you can kind of see some of those areas a little bit better. And then we're gonna zoom out, and we're gonna work on much bigger areas. But I think the best way is to start from, and we're gonna go around a little bit here, and we'll, again, we're gonna start with those most obvious. See, it's already sort of looks, some changes done. And because those changes are so small, you don't see them like so obviously. So let's go here, underneath the eye. You know, with this guy, it's fairly easy fix. Because as you probably see, you know, he's got a really healthy skin. And you know, those retouches, they go fairly quick. Sometimes, you know, with people who are older, or you know, they have no makeup done, you know, those are like much harder ones to work on. So yeah, I want to mention that, you know, like if you doing professional headshots, I have to say that it's extremely important to have some really good makeup artist with you, because that's gonna not only speed up your process of retouching, but also, like, you know, makes those images looks much better. And I found honestly that you know, having good makeup artist, it's really like a dream come true, because you know it's much easier to work in post with those images. So you know, try to find someone who can really deliver the quality of work, which not only makes your images looks better, but also speed up your process with you know, retouching. Because if the makeup is either not done or is like, you know, really poorly done, you know, basically everything is in your hands to, you know, get those images to the quality you want, right? So make sure that, you know, with the guys I found, you know, like you don't need much, as long as you know their skin is not fairly shiny, and there's not much glare on their skin. That's, I would say, the most important thing. With the girls, you know, that's a completely different story, but I mean, we're not going to talk about this today because we are working on the guy. So I have to say that, you know, it's also good to have makeup artists for the guys, because, you know, sometimes we think like, oh, the guys, they don't really need the makeup, but I found, you know, that always helps. You know, if you have a good makeup artist who can really help you with you know, the way the skin looks, that always helps. Okay, so we work on that like fully scale, like 100%, and now we're gonna zoom in a little bit. So now probably you see, you know, there's area like here, area like here. There's some other places which needs a little bit of adjustment. So we're going to change the brush to a little bit softer ones. Let's go to 2. So this brush doesn't make such a kind of really strong edge. So we can kind of work some of those places. We're not gonna make too much damage to some of those pixels. You see the difference. We're gonna push it a little bit more. So we're gonna take a little bit bigger brush. A little bit here. So even if, you know, this whole thing doesn't look perfect, we're gonna do the next step, and we're gonna just kind of push this even more and even more and even more till the point where, you know, we get the results which we really want. So even again, like, you know, if we are not extremely happy with, let's say, the first step, you know, there's few other steps which we can do to you know, make the skin looks good. So don't be kind of frustrated that you have to do everything at once. Again, this is what I said, it's a slow process, and we're gonna be getting the results by doing different things to the skin to make it look the way we want it. Okay, a little bit over here. Okay, so I think that would be good enough. Let's see. So you see, we cleaned most of this, like most things which bugs me the most. So I think that's good. So let's take this black and white layer and see how this whole thing looks like. You see, it already looks way better. But this is not over. We're gonna do a little bit more to this. Sorry, I was a little bit sick, so I'm coughing a little bit. So I hope you guys gonna be upset about this. So yeah, I'm really sorry. Okay, so as you see already, we have some cool changes. Yeah, so that's the first step, dodge and burn. So we're gonna delete the black and white. We're gonna merge the adjustments. Usually I don't try to kind of do and keep those layers, because, you know, the files goes to insane sizes. So I think whatever is done is done, and then, you know, we merge those, well, layers, and we move on. So the next action, what are we gonna do? We're gonna run Danny Diamond retouch action, and well, basically we're gonna do frequency separation just a little bit on his skin, and we're gonna just work on some other details. So the main reason I like this action is because, as you probably see, so let's, okay, before this action runs, usually for the frequency separation, what we want to make sure over here, because we're going to be working on two different, I would say, layers. One of them is responsible for the tones, and the second one is responsible for the texture. So this one is actually getting ready, the layer for the tones. So what we want to make sure is like all the tones are kind of blended together, and usually it goes between 7 and 12. That's what I found. Depends on how big the image is and how much skin has to be covered. So the more I would say space we have to cover, this number goes up. When it's, I would say, less, I would say skin which we have to kind of do, or like the image is smaller, this number goes actually smaller. But I found with the headshots and the resolution what I'm shooting, between, I would say, 7 and 12, that's the radius I'm using. So we're gonna click OK, and the action is gonna keep continuing to kind of put this whole thing together. And as you probably see over here, so the action is actually run for the image, and as you probably see over here, it's divided to all those things which we're going to be working on. So it's toning, it's eyes, it's dodge and burn, which is basically we're going to be doing some how we call it, we're going to just kind of shape the face a little bit. And then the first one is the frequency separation. So we're going to basically go from the bottom to the top. So usually what I'm doing, I'm actually going to close those down for now, and we're going to focus on the bottom one, and then we're going to close it up, and we're going to go to the next thing. So let's start with frequency separation. So basically there's a texture and there's a low tones, which we're going to kind of clean up some of those differentiations with the skin tones, and there's another one in the middle which basically helps us to fix some of those things which are not going to be able to actually fix on either of those two. So let's start with the low tones. Well, we're going to work on the tones right now, so we're going to go to the lasso. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically just make a circle, or make like we're going to select the area which we want to actually apply this. We're going to go to Gaussian blur. And usually what they recommended is, if your radius, for getting ready this, layer was 10, we're going to do the same kind of like amount with the Gaussian blur. But usually what I do, I'm going kind of a little bit lower because this is the guy, so we don't want to push it too much. So I'm going to go around 8. I'm going to click OK, and this is done. And we're going to take this over here because this is something which, like you can see, there's really the differences between those tones. We're going to try to kind of make this more even, the same thing. And as you probably guys know, shortcuts in Photoshop, what we can do, we can kind of start applying this filter all over. So basically on the Mac, I don't know, on the PC, you basically hit Control, Command, and F, which is over here. And then we're gonna basically start covering some areas, click, and it's done. So again, you don't really see much. It's just a little bit adjustment. I'm gonna do a little bit over here. I'm gonna do over here as well. This area needs to be a little bit more fixed. Over here. Okay. area needs a little bit as well. Okay, let's do a little bit over here. There you go. Perfect. So that will be pretty much it. The next step is we're gonna just fix some of those things which, you know, they're not really fixed. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna go to the brush, hardness 0, flow 1. So that's basically the minimum what we can do. And then what are we gonna be doing? We're gonna be taking like a samples of the tones, and we're gonna kind of paint it over those areas, you know, which needs to be fixed. And one of the most important things, because what are we going to be doing? We're going to be actually just sampling the skin. So one of the things which you have to remember, because that sometimes put people in the big trouble, and it's like a little thing which definitely you know, has a huge impact on you know, this process. So when you go to the sampler, make sure that it takes between 51 or 100 by 51 average. So basically what it is, it's not take like, you know, exactly from this point. It just basically take like, you know, 50 pixels around, just take an average of it. So you know, because sometimes there's one pixel which has a little bit of different tone and then just mess everything up, right? So you have to make sure that, you know, if you take a sample, take from like a little bit of bigger area and then, you know, just take an average. So that's going to be more accurate. So basically what we're going to be doing is like, so this area over here, we're going to be pretty much just painting over. So as you probably cannot see much right now, but I'll show you in a second. You see already this looks a little bit better. And the same over here. There you go. So we're gonna even out everything a little bit over here. So we're gonna fix that as well. A little bit of highlight over here, so we're gonna even that out as well. So again, you don't see much changes, but let's look right now. You see, you really clean some of those areas really nicely. Here. Over here, just to get a polished look. Perfect. So that's pretty much done. That should do it. So let's go to the beginning. So that's the image look like at the beginning. You see, it's much more clean. Okay, so now we're gonna go to texture, and we're slowly kind of gonna go back throughout the skin, and you know, if there's anything left over, you know, we've done a lot of stuff at the beginning, right? So you know, usually there's not much which we have to do, but let's go, let's say over here, clean this a little bit here. You know, stuff like this. Fix some of those veins. We don't want to clean too much in their eyes, like, you know, he's got some redness going on, but we're gonna fix that a little bit later, just to kind of get a little bit of clean up over here. Okay, that's messing up a little bit. better. A little bit of hair, but we're gonna leave that. What else? These little guys. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So that would conclude our frequency separation. So as you see, this image already looks way better, more clean. All those dark shadows underneath his eyes are cleaned. You want to leave a little bit. You don't want to clean up. Like I clean it, I think, a little bit way too much here, just to kind of show you. But you want to leave it a little bit, because like if you start cleaning and pushing too much, the image is gonna look fake. So okay, next step is dodge and burn. So what are we going to be doing? We're going to be contouring the face. And basically, if you guys never heard about it, I definitely would check online. The best, I would say, resources is just to go to well, basically any makeup artists who actually they specialize in like a professional makeup. They will tell you what's the contouring is, because it's exactly the same process. So you have to understand how this whole thing kind of works. So basically I'll show you over here what exactly we're going to be doing. I was explaining this a little bit later on. Well, I was explaining it in my previous vlog, but I'm gonna show you exactly what we're going to be doing. So basically, the entire process of contouring the face is creating a little more contrast into the face. And what are we going to be doing? We're actually going to be well, highlighting those areas which we're going to kind of follow the light. So we're going to highlighting all this like highlights, and then we're going to just kind of increase the areas which they have shadows, and they are basically darker. So I'll show you. Let's go to the brush. I'll show you exactly. Let's go change the color to red. Okay, so what are we going to be doing? We're going to be brightening, well, basically the areas which have highlights. So we'll be over here, over here, over here, over here, this area over here, a little bit over here, a little bit over here. So this is what we're going to be doing with brightening those areas. And what are we going to be actually making this, well, what are we going to be darkening? So basically everything where the shadows are. Over here, over here, there's a little bit of shadow over here, there's shadow over here. We're going to just darken a little bit his eyebrows over here. We're going to do also a little bit darker beard, just to kind of get much more contrast. And then we're going to darken a little bit of his hair as well, and over here, this area. So that's what we're going to be darkening. And it's something which we're going to be doing very gradually. It's not something which we want to jump into and just kind of make too much. But we're going to change the settings of the brush. So opacity will be 2. We're going to 2, there you go. Flow is going to be 100%. We're going to use this brush over here. We're going to set up to default, which is dark and white, and very, very gradually going to be I would say darkening those places. And again, you're not going to see much when you're doing it, but then when you actually turn it on and off, you will see a huge difference. So it's very, very gradual process. I wouldn't push it too much. So you have to do is very, very subtle. See this area over here. I'm gonna darken this area over here. Darken his beard, as I said. Okay, now we're gonna push X, so we're gonna switch to white, and then we're gonna start brightening those areas, which I was just telling you about in a few seconds ago. There you go. Slowly. So let's check what happened. See, there's a little bit more. Very tiny changes. We're gonna just keep going because I think we need a little bit more. And you're just doing this like very slowly, and you're just changing the size of the brush, and then there you go. A little bit of highlight over here. Okay, we're gonna change to black again. Repeat this process again. Just add a little bit more. Just a little bit more, and this is his hair. Let's check it out right now. You see? Looks a little bit better. Perfect. Okay, so that would be pretty much it. We're not gonna push it a little more. I think that looks good enough. And the next step, we're gonna work on his eyes, because as you probably know, the eyes in headshots is pretty much everything. So that's where you want to draw your attention when people are going to look at those images. And I found, it's extremely important to give those eyes that extra pop. This is just, I found, is extremely important, and we have to also get this done right. So we're going to change the settings again. So we're going to go our opacity to 100, and we're going to change flow to maximum 3. You don't want to go above this. It's like you want to do this very, very subtle, but still give. And the one trick what I learned from Danny Diamond, and I think this is extremely important, that sometimes what people do, they just focus on the eyes itself, but that's sometimes just simply doesn't work. It's kind of looks weird, and their eyes just kind of like popping up too much. So he come up with this idea, which I deeply believe is really cool, and then like just gives this this entire process of making those eyes pop much more subtle look. And it's cool that it's not something that just well, don't look really bizarre. So what you do, you're not focusing just on their eyes. It's basically you start from like much bigger area, and you slowly actually going into their eye. There you go. Same thing here. Awesome. And the same thing what we're gonna do, so we brighten their eye, and there's another section here where we're gonna sharpen their eye. So we're gonna do exactly the same thing. The one thing what I want to say, these eyes are already sharp, because the lens is really sharp. But just to kind of get this extra sharpness, so people are really gonna draw their attention into his eyes. So we're gonna do the same thing. And another thing what I also do, just to kind of give extra pop, we're gonna go here, change to white, and we're gonna give some extra white. We're gonna brighten the catch light from our reflector. change to the dark. Fix this. So we're gonna darken those areas and dry. I think we need to fix some of those things over here, but we're gonna kind of go back to our frequency separation, and what we're gonna be doing, we're gonna try to fix this. It looks a little bit too red for me. There you go. Same thing here. Just a little bit. There you go. That should do it. Okay. So let's go back to their eyes, and now we can see the difference. So you see it's not just their eyes, it's this entire area of the eye that brighten. So that's, I think, makes this entire looks much more subtle, and it's not like too obvious for the viewer. Okay, so that's pretty much one of the last steps. The next thing is the toning. So in Danny Diamond action, he has this boost over here just to kind of give another tiny bit of contrast, and sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't, depends on the shot. But in this case, I think it's gonna work really well. The colors pop a little bit more, so we're gonna leave that. And now we're gonna go to the color balance. So we're gonna click on this, and that's gonna take us straight, well, the properties comes up, and then we're gonna work on shadows, midtones, and highlights. And one thing what I would like to say about that, like, you have to be very, very subtle. I know, especially when you're starting editing, you know, people pushing those sliders back and forth, and you know, like, you know, they try to kind of make these cool tones, but I found the more you edit, the less work you do as far as, you know, like pushing those boundaries. I found it's extremely important to keep this image as much real as possible. So this is extremely important, you know, just don't push it too much. So in this case, what are we gonna do? I think this image is a little bit too red, so we're gonna do like -1. We're gonna get some extra blue to the shadows. That's gonna give us a little more pop. We're gonna do the same thing with the midtones. We're gonna do -1. We're gonna do +2. And then the highlights, I think we have to give a little more red. So just give this the tone of the skin a little more. So this is before and after. As you see, this is like very, very subtle change. And I think this is gonna work really well. So that's what are we gonna do with toning. That's pretty much it. So that's pretty much the last step in that action. So let's see what we have done. So this is before, this is after, this is before, this is after. So you see the skin got a little more cleaned. The colors pops a little bit. So the last thing, what are we going to be doing? I want to basically make sure that, you know, like his face pops even more. So what are we going to do? We're going to do really, I would say, cool and nice vignette. There's one area over here which kind of drives me crazy. So we're going to kind of like try to fix that. So let's make a copy. And I'm going to be just doing this just for the sake so you guys can see the difference between and after. So we're going to merge those two, and we're going to leave the original one. Okay, so what I'm going to try to do here, let's try this and see if this is going to work or not. So I want to take this kind of orange thing off the image. So what are we going to do? We're going to select, and then we're going to just basically click Command and T. So let's do this over again so you guys, because I don't think I said what I was doing. So we've merged this. So we go to the selection. I select this area over here. So now I'm going to click Command and T. So this area got kind of selected, and we're going to just basically slide this. Click Enter, and then we're going to click Command and D. So yeah, So that looks a little bit better. So this is before, this is after, so that's kind of cool. And also what I found the best way, in my opinion, to do vignettes, like, you know, I know sometimes people go to you know, the dodge tool, and they try to kind of dodge everything well around. So I'll show you another method which I actually saw recently and I think works really well. So what we're going to do, we're going to create another clear layer. We're going to go to fill, and we're going to fill with black, and we're going to click OK. So, well, this layer just covers everything. So we're going to go to opacity. We're going to go about 50, so we're going to see a little bit better. And then what we're going to do, we're going to go to eraser, and basically what are we going to do, make sure this brush is kind of, well, it's soft and there's no hardness, and we're going to actually just clean this black a little bit over here. So we're going to just clean it, the areas which we don't want to have covered. There you go. It's pretty simple. And now what are we going to do, we're going to change settings to soft light. And now with opacity, we are going to basically just adjust to whatever we want. And I found this, like, this is the best way of doing the vignette, because you can basically you know, do vignette where you want. Like, you know, you don't have to just drag and then, you know, paint over stuff like that. It's really simple, and it's just basically you can precisely create the vignette you want. Like, you don't really have to just kind of smudge the image all over the place. And I found with dodge tool, sometimes it's kind of tricky, because, you know, like, you just go all over the place and doesn't kind of look the way you want it. So I found this is really cool, and it's really quick and works really well, because as you probably notice, it's like, you know, a few seconds, it's pretty much done. Okay, so the last and final edit we're going to be doing, we're going to use Liquify tool to just kind of like shape it up, like some of those stuff which needs to be actually fixed. So what are we going to be doing? I'm going to create another layer. We're going to merge those two, and we're going to go to filter, Liquify. Takes a couple seconds, and now we're gonna actually just liquify some of those parts. Like, you have to be very also careful with this, so you don't want to push it too much. So there's few things which kind of bugs me, like this little bump over here. So we're gonna just kind of like push this a little bit over here, tiny bit. I'm gonna work a little bit on this, like sticking out hair. This is actually the perfect tool for this. There you go. Perfect. Right here. So it's not too obvious. And then I'm gonna press OK. So it's before and after. Okay, so that's pretty much it. That's everything what I'm going to be doing with this image, and this is image ready to go. I know it took a little bit of time, but I was just speaking, so that's obviously going to slow down the process. With that kind of retouch, I think it shouldn't take more than 20 minutes. You can fairly quick go through this entire process. And the last thing what I want to actually say here, before you save the image, what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be just merging this entire image. There you go. And I want to make sure that you guys also know that, because a lot of people forget about it. And this is something which really, I had issues with this, and I had no idea what's going on. And you know, those are one of those things which you just basically lost. And then everything kind of falls in apart. And what I want to talk about, you guys remember at the beginning, we were working at Adobe Space. So when I would save this image in that, you know, like, well, the settings, whenever you put that image online, it's gonna look horrible because you're gonna lose some tones, because, you know, there's totally different color space. And I've sent even some, well, back in the days, images with that color space, and people are posting them on their social media or, you know, their platforms or website, and the images looks kind of like, well, the colors were so bizarre. So make sure that before you save the image, and before you even send it out, the image to the client, you go to the file, actually sorry, you go to the edit, you go to the convert to profile, and you're gonna make sure that your original profile right now is Adobe RGB, and you have to change this to working RGB. So you're just setting this up, you press OK, it's done, and then basically you can save the image. And I'm starting with saving as a Photoshop file, and then, you know, to JPEG for the client. Okay, so let me save that. And this is image basically retouched. I hope you guys like this vlog. If you guys have any questions regarding what I was doing, or you guys have some additional questions, I'll be more than happy to answer all your questions. And let's look at this image one more time, how it looked like before the retouch and after. So this is before, this is after. So this is before, and this is after. Perfect. Thank you for watching this. I will be looking forward to hear from you, and yeah, have a fantastic weekend, and yeah, let's stay tuned for the next vlog. So bye bye now.